You guys hear me out there? JT? Stand by. All right, how's that? Am I straight now and not sideways? Everything better now, not sideways? All right. All right, good to go. Good to see everybody this evening. JT, Sheena's Ketovore Life, Barbara Rogers, David G. Good to see you guys here. Everybody have a good New Year's, good Christmas. Wow, I'm having trouble with my live chat. All right, so I just wanted to do this live stream tonight, try something different. Kind of new to this, so if I screw up along the way, I apologize ahead of time. But I do like one-on-one with people and the ability to kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has all the answers, especially in the world we live in today. So it's great to have input and to talk to other people and get a real, human opinion on things because I feel like nowadays we solely rely on computers and algorithms and everything else to kind of tell us how we live our life and what to buy and things like that. So the ability as human beings in general just to communicate with each other and kind of help each other out along the way is a great thing. So a live stream I feel like is the best way to incorporate that and kind of talk to each other about things. So I put this video together to kind of ask people their New Year's, resolutions as far as being a prepper, things you have in, ideas that you have for the new year of things you want to do to be more prepared, no matter what it may be, whether it be you want to grow livestock or a garden or water catchment or whatever it may be, brush up on your gun skills. So that's why we're here tonight, kind of get ideas from each other. So I guess I'll start with me, since this is my live stream. So um, the main number one thing as far as a New Year's resolution for me, and it's not necessarily just even prepping, but just in general, is organization. I feel like I lack a lot in that area. Um, I have a lot of great ideas. I stockpile a lot of things and have a lot of books, etc., etc. But I feel like as far as organizing those things and getting those things where I need them, when I need them, I'm lacking probably in that area. So that's one thing I want to get going for the new year for me. Um, I have lots of totes of things put away, for whatever may happen. As far as organization for those things, though, that's kind of up in the air. I really don't have that going on for me. So that's really top on the priority list. Today, I spent a whole day tearing what I call, the family calls, my prepper room. It's one area that I keep a lot of my things stockpiled and things going on, rotating things in constantly. Um, I spent the whole day pretty much just tearing that apart and trying to organize things and put in shelves and everything else to try to get things to where I know what's what. So, what are you guys working on out there? So, being as healthy as possible, installing high tunnel for gardening, and get closer to God. And you had a pipe bust. That's horrible. Sorry to hear that. Um, yeah, I'm definitely trying to be as healthy as possible right now, and gardening is really top on my list right now, as well as livestock. But indoor gardening is one thing that I haven't really done a lot with. I have a few lights I bought. I want to look into buying like the reflective tinting, things like that, and really up my game on that. Get things going indoors as well as outdoors. Typically in the spring and the summer, I have an outdoor garden going, but I've never really tried the indoor thing as far as growing fruits and veggies and things like that. Yeah, finding like-minded people in Oklahoma, um, it's really hard to do. I run into, it seems like most people are fairly conservative minded and they have, the same thoughts I do on a lot of things. But as far as where I'm at, I don't know if I would call myself a conspiracist or what it is, but I'm definitely prepared in every way possible or try to be. And I feel like most people that I'm around, even though I might get along with them and have things in common, at the end of the day, I feel like my mindset and the things I do as far as preparation and being a prepper is completely different than most of the people I talk to on an everyday occasion, in my life, at work, and things with friends, as well as family. Most people that I'm close with pretty much accept what I do, and they're understanding and they're supportive, and that's awesome. But they're not really thinking like I am most of the time. So it kind of feels like a bad thing at times just because I feel like I'm on this whole other level as far as reasoning skills and what I'm thinking and preparing for things and the way other people see things and what they do with their everyday normal life. So, you'll have to excuse me. I'm new to this live stream stuff and trying to read everybody's comments here and see what's going on. So you did a transcontinental move, buy a house and settle and get back to prepping. Where did you move from? direction on medical supplies, Barbara. Yeah, um, I'm a bit rusty in that area as well. It's a new concept for me and something I am actively working on. Even if it's something I buy at the Dollar Tree, I'm constantly buying medical things, and especially as far as over-the-counter things that I use, and my kids and stuff. My daughter, she takes allergy medicine every night, and I have inhalers and different things that I use. So I'm constantly trying to stock up on those things as well as food and other things. Most people that prep, or I won't say most people, but a lot of people kind of get caught up in the idea of just food and water. But my prepping has gone way beyond that just recently, I would say within the last year probably. It's more about everything as a whole as opposed to just stocking up food and water. You want to have things that you use constantly. So, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous, but me and my daughter, we love Cheez Its. So I have a lot of Cheez Its, you know. It's just the things you use. And some of those are luxury items, like a Cheez It, what I would consider a luxury item. You can fill your belly up at the end of the day with beans and rice and canned corn or whatever, but you want to have the ability to keep going with what you already are used to, whatever you consume on a daily basis. And that doesn't just stop at food. I mean, it's allergy medicine and Tylenol and, whatever you use. You want to stock a lot of that stuff up because you never know when things are just going to shut down tomorrow and you might not have that ability to go down and get it. I don't know about you guys, but when the pandemic started, I had a tough time buying things like allergy medicine for my daughter. So it made me really come to the realization that those are things that I need to be concerned with and things that I need to stock up on. Hey there, Labdorite. Hope I pronounced that right. I think you're my friend from Australia, I believe. You have to eat clean. Yeah, that makes it even harder to prep and put food away and things. I actually have Crohn's disease, and I'm lucky that I get by with probably a lot more than I should. Um, Whenever I got out of the hospital, oh gosh, let's see, I think it was 2006. I had two abdominal surgeries. I've had half my large intestines taken out, um, and I was in there for a couple months basically, and they were just scratching their head. And Crohn's disease was kind of a new thing at the time. They didn't know a lot about it, and I think at the time the only way they could find out what it even, if you had it, was to take an internal tissue sample. So when I had my second surgery and they took, intestine out and cleaned things and organized things in there, that's when they found out I had Crohn's disease. And, I nearly died in the hospital. When I got out, they basically told me I would never be able to lift over 10 pounds. I would live this life of solitude, just sitting around and not being able to do anything physical, basically. And my life's mission when that happened was to change things. And I started working out and trying to be somewhat healthy. I started doing the tough man boxing and things. Before it was all said and done, I was lifting well above 10 pounds. And it's all about mindset. I mean, I'm not going to say all about mindset, but mindset is a very important thing with that. Um, if you think a certain way, you can accomplish pretty much anything you want to. And that even comes to physical ailments, as far as having Crohn's disease or whatever your ailment may be. You can overcome these things, and it's not that hard. It's a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it. When I was fighting and boxing and doing things, it was a lot of mindset. It was a lot of physical conditioning and things like that, but a lot of it was just knowing that you have the ability to overcome anything at the moment. So, Yeah, prepping for specific conditions. Yeah, and that, that goes with for any type of prepping, really. I mean, it all depends on your situation. I mean, I can't tell you to stockpile Tylenol and, Advil and expect that you're going to be all right. It depends on your situation, where you live, what your ailment is, and things you got going on in your life. All I can do is stock for the things that I need and the things that I use. So I encourage everybody else out there to do the same. I'm not going to give you a list of specific things that you need. Just stock the things that you know you need, the things you normally use in everyday life, or when you're sick, or whatever gets you through the day, as far as food and medicine and everything else. I mean, it's the list is endless, really, and it's exhausting. When I'm prepping, I try to concentrate in one certain area, no matter if that's a certain food or clothing or whatever it is. I try to concentrate in one little area at a time. Otherwise, I'm just completely, overcome with it. I have to take a little bit at a time. So, sometimes it's hard to know when you have enough food stored. Yeah, I totally get that. And I'm not one of these preppers that's totally organized as far as having calorie content accounted for in certain areas. I'm more of the idea of, like I've been constantly saying, and I say in my videos, store what you use. So, for instance, I don't need to concentrate so much on my calorie count of what I need to survive, because I know what I need to survive, and you just as well as you know what you need to survive. So whatever you normally eat, or to the accountant of, like, you know, obviously, I'm sure not everybody sits around and eats canned goods all day, or freeze dried foods. I do incorporate those in my food and things I make. I use dehydrated onions. There's certain things that I use constantly, or at least I incorporate into my food. But those aren't things that I regularly use. But there are certain things, and that's kind of an important thing when you're stocking. I'm a big advocate for canned goods, simply because if you find things that you use as far as canned goods, and you stock those things and you work through those things regularly, you're going to be pretty successful as a prepper, because most of those things have a long shelf life. There's very few things that I buy in a canned good that don't have at least a year on them, if not 5 years on them. And if you're smart about it and you stock up when there's sales and things, you can really accumulate some things and work through it. I mean, those are things that I use regularly: canned vegetables, canned meats, excuse me, cream of celery, cream of chicken, things like that. You know, cornbread. I incorporate all these things. I make casseroles and different dinners and stuff, and I use all these items. So it's not like something that I'm just stocking because it's filling and has a lot of calories. It's things that I use. So that's more the way I prep. I'm not too big on just counting how many calories I have in my cupboard. It's more of things I use and knowing how many calories I need to survive. Even if that means adding some more additional physical labor to it. If things were hard and I had to spend more time out in the garden or with the livestock, obviously I'm going to need a few more calories. So I take that into consideration as well. Yeah, you've eaten stuff way past expiration date. I try to push the limits a little bit with that. I don't get too crazy with it, but I'll eat pastas and different things I have that are a year out of date, just to see what it's like. And for the most part, most of the things I've tried have not been that doomy. It's, for the most part, it's eatable. Um, the only area of that, I'm fairly new to pressure canning. Whenever the pandemic first started, I started looking into pressure canning. I just stumbled across it, and it seemed like a good way to preserve things if there's no more grocery store around it, or if there's no more refrigerator around. I don't have a giant solar generator that I can just run my fridge and everything else on. I wish I did, but unfortunately I don't have that type of money. So that's what made me dabble into pressure canning and learning that, because if you need to preserve anything, especially meat, and you don't have anything else, it's a great way to go. Um, Unless you want to build a smokehouse, which is a good way to go as well. But so far I haven't done that. The only thing I do is, as far as meat goes, is have fresh meat out in the yard, canned meats, and then I pressure can meat as well. And I feel like that's a pretty good start to it. Ultimately, I'm constantly telling people livestock is the way to go in gardening, simply because if you have a lot of stockpile, if you have a lot of canned goods and freeze dried things and whatever it may be, rice, whatever, you can go for a while, and even fairly long term, if you have enough storage capacity. But if it goes beyond that, which it possibly could, I don't hope that it's going to go that direction. I really hope it never gets that bad, but it's never out of my mind. I mean, it's something that I prep for as well. We could go long term for this sort of thing. So in that case, you would want to learn to garden and do livestock and things like that, which is what I'm pursuing. If you'd have talked to me 3, 4 years ago, I would have not had any idea what to tell you about how to raise a chicken. Now I dabble in gardening, chickens. I'm looking into having pigs in the spring, um, as well as turkeys and other things. So I'm constantly looking to up my game. These aren't things that I know everything about. I learn on YouTube quite a bit, just like probably a lot of you do. So I don't know it all, but these are things that I'm pursuing in the new year. Yeah, you definitely want to get into gardening and fresh food because, man, I work in produce and it's getting pretty bleak and weird. It's not like we're totally wiped out of everything, but everything's hit and miss, and you can't rely on anything there. If you have your own garden, you don't have to worry about that. Other than the off season, even in the South here, I have that's where pressure canning comes in again. Being able to can these things to last me through the bad months, because it may not be as horrible as Canada or up north somewhere, but it's starting to get colder and colder here in the winter. Last winter really threw me off guard, and I think everybody here. Um, we hit something crazy for Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, where I live, is like negative 25 or something like that for a few days in the evening. And that's just pretty much unheard of here. And people were scrambling. Uh, it really makes you want to zone in more on prepping for whatever your circumstances. I have livestock that I have to worry about in the winter. And last winter really threw me for a loop. I'm fairly new to it. I've only been doing it maybe 3 years with chickens and stuff. But when winter hit last year, it went from, like it is now, 20 or 30 degrees, to the forecast within 2 or 3 days, it went from 20 to 10, 0 to, okay, it's going to be negative 20 tomorrow. And people were panicking where I live. I mean, it's a fairly small town where I live. It's not tiny by no means. There might be 10,000 people here. I don't really know for sure, but it's nothing big by no means. And people were scrambling. I went to buy some straw and hay for the animals just to insulate some more, throw some more things in there, and it was non-existent. I pretty much just ended up buying a bunch of bags of shavings and stuff and just spreading it, a foot thick. And I didn't have any issues. Chickens, and that's why I'm always telling people, you have the ability to get a chicken. You know, anything shy of having an apartment, and even then, I implore you to look into having a chicken in an apartment because it is not that hard to raise a chicken. And worst comes to worst, you can raise them off scraps from your kitchen, things you eat. You would be amazed at what they will eat. Weeds out of the yard, you name it, anything. You can just feed these things. So it's a great thing to have for prepping. Canned goods and stuff that you eat are great to put back, but it's not everything. You definitely want to look into long-term regenerative agriculture. It's the way to go. Looking into because they're not very big. It's something that I could butcher, probably me and my wife together. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. So save the money on butchering. I would simply be in the cost of the pig itself. They halfway graze out of the yard, so they don't eat a lot. It's like a cup of feed a day per pig or something like that. So it's basically like me feeding my chickens. And I know not everybody's into pork out there, and I get that. But for me, it can be something that would take me and my family a long way. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get caught up on some of these comments in the live chat. 5 years past the Best Buy, JT. Yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of this stuff is good for way past the Best Buy. It's just the quality of maybe what you're eating. Maybe the texture of the pasta or the rice or vegetable, whatever it is, might be a little bit more mushy or whatever. But it doesn't take away from the nutrition of it. Not typically. I mean, slowly over time, but you're still going to get what you're going to get out of it. And especially if if things get crazy and you're paying $3 for a can of green beans, I feel like the more you stock up right now and put back, the better off you're going to be in the long run. And that's not even a doomsday-ish like zombie apocalypse type thing. That's just common sense. Things are getting expensive and inflation is crazy. And I work in a grocery store. I can tell you firsthand, I see the price changes day in, day out, 5, 10 cents here and there. And, that stuff adds up over time. And it's halfway media manipulation to a degree. You know, you raise something 50 cents, you lower it 30, and then you raise it another 50 cents and you lower it 10, and people think they got a good deal. They don't see the little 10, 20, 30 cents drop or raise here and there. But overall, it adds up. Over time, it adds up big time. So 10 cents here and there over the course of a year, you may not notice it. Half the time, I don't even, and I work around this stuff every day. Uh, it's just manipulation, and things do go back down, but then when they go back up, they go up even more, and when they go back down, it's you're still paying more at the end of the day. It's just a way to kind of cover the idea of inflation, but it's there and it's rampant, and everybody should be stocking up, if anything, just for that. Even if things don't get horrible and society just doesn't completely break down, what's the hurt in stocking up on a few things and saving a buck? Yeah, you've noticed fresh goes off real quick once you get it home. Are you talking about like vegetables and fruit and stuff? Because yeah, the quality of things are going down. I work with produce every day, and it's getting awful. Some of the things I'm ashamed to even try to sell, but what do you do? It's not my company. So I do the best job I can, but some of the quality of some of this stuff is horrible. Um, I know, the next day when somebody takes something home, it's breaking down and starting to mold as far as berries and things, and there's nothing I can do about that. all I can do is go through these things and make them as good as I possibly can for the consumer. But at the end of the day, it's the quality I'm given is the quality I have to give to other people. And that's one thing, I've discussed with people that really aren't even into preparedness at my work lately is people need to start getting used to the idea of something not being, perfect, because that is slowly slipping away. Agriculture and things are horrible right now. The things and the quality I see are not good, and the gaps between production for things, citrus and different things, it's the gaps are getting a lot bigger. So the ability to basically do all this stuff yourself to the best of your ability. Obviously I can't grow mangoes and avocados in my front yard in Oklahoma, but I can do my best part in other areas to grow things that I use, tomatoes and peppers and things. So using your environment and your surroundings and your knowledge is the best way you have to beat everything going on out there, especially in the fresh markets. Because it's getting harder and harder to get fresh fruits and vegetables of any quality around here. I'm sure it varies from area to area across the world and the nation, but at least here in Oklahoma, things are getting a little more scarce and harder to get, and the price is insane. Like strawberries are like $6 a pound at my work right now. It's not something I'm buying. It's not that I don't love strawberries, but I'm not willing to pay that for it. So it's getting rather ridiculous, at least price wise. Yeah, heirloom seeds are the way to go. That's really something you want, and that's something I'm looking more into in the year to come is just self-sufficiency in every way, in every aspect you can imagine. You can prepare and get canned goods and Noir's sides and whatever you want, buckets of rice, however you want to prep. But at the end of the day, if everything just falls apart, you want to have the ability to everything from livestock to vegetables to water. You need a source for all of these things. Because if the grocery store, if Walmart Supercenter is not there, or whatever, wherever you shop, you need to have the ability to have things. And having heirloom seeds, um, I don't have them yet, but it's something I'm fixing to buy pretty quickly. An incubator, the ability to produce my own chicks and not have to rely on Tractor Supply or a sign down the road where I'm buying my chickens. To have the ability to create my own is really a good thing to have. I mean, if everything goes to crap, which it looks like that at times, the ability to raise your own fruits and veggies and chickens or whatever, if you're into cows or whatever you have the ability to raise. Unfortunately, I don't have enough land to raise cows, but I do have enough land that I can raise some pigs and chickens and turkeys. I'm looking into turkeys in the spring. These are things that I can do. So it just depends on what you're capable of doing. Yeah, root cellars is something I've really been looking into. I don't know a lot about them. I've watched a few YouTube videos. It doesn't seem that hard to me. Definitely something I want to do to preserve things from the garden. I have to agree, Barbara. I love pressure canning. Um, uh, that's about when I started. Was at the beginning of the pandemic, and I wouldn't say I'm addicted. I like doing it, but it is very time consuming, and that's one thing I want to let everybody know that doesn't pressure can to realize is it's a time consuming thing, and depending on the size of pressure canner you have, it can take all day long. I mean, multiple days, depending on how much you're wanting to pressure can. I regret the one I bought. I love it. It's a great pressure canner, but I can only do like 4 quart jars at a time. The next step up, the one above that, I think was another $100. It could do, I think, 7 or 8 at a time. So I wish I'd have just went all out for that one, to have the ability to do more at once, and not spend so much time doing it, because it is very, very time consuming if you're going to do it right. So you haven't had any problems germinating seeds that are several years old? I was kind of curious about that myself. Um, I have some seeds that are several years old. I just constantly am buying them, especially if they're on sale. Yeah, Cooney pigs. Uh, the whole reason I want them is because they graze a lot, as well as, I mean, they'll eat pig feed that you give them, or whatever else, slop, whatever you want to feed them. But the great thing about Coonies, from what I have read and seen in videos, is that they're halfway self-sustainable if you have enough grass and weeds and different things for them to eat in your yard. Um, a few of the videos and articles I read said they eat about a cup of feed a day per pig if they have a place to graze. And I don't know how many of you people are out there are familiar with Joel Salton, but I highly recommend getting some of his books and watching some videos and things. Even on YouTube, they have them. But like about regenerative agriculture is really the way to go. Really, what got me intrigued and interested in having pigs of some sort. Um, Basically, you have them fenced off. Electric fencing. Pigs are like escape artists, so that's something you is pretty necessary to have to raise them, no matter what kind of pig you have. Some are a little less apt to escape, but all of them are are going to try at some point. So electric fencing is one thing you have to take into consideration as far as cost. But if you do the whole regenerative thing, if you have pigs and chickens, you can kind of work the two together. You fence off a certain area. You have your chickens in chicken tractors. You move them daily or every other day. They kind of till up the soil. They poop. Bring in the hogs or pigs behind them, and it's this whole regenerative thing. It creates some amazing soil for your garden, and everything's healthy. Everybody's happy, and it's really that seems like the way to go as far as I know. And it's way different than the things you buy from the grocery store as far as poultry or beef or anything like that. Is way different if you find somebody that is into regenerative agriculture. The standard method of just having them all in a big factory, so to speak, just walking around in their own filth, that's where things like salmonella and different things come from. It's not anything with the animal, and that's where a lot of people get confused nowadays, and they have no idea about agriculture and animals. Um, these things aren't prone to just disease. It's the environment they live in. If you make something walk around in its own filth and feces all day long, obviously it's going to get disease and be unhealthy, and possibly make you unhealthy for eating it. So that's one reason I got into raising chickens and different things, is because I want to eat healthy and I want my family to eat healthy, and also have something that I can produce myself and not have to rely so much on the supermarket to feed me and my family. So, a bow for fresh meat, huh? Hopefully, you're not completely against firearms. And yes, food is getting super difficult to afford. I am super happy that I started prepping and putting things back when I did, because now I have a jump start, I feel like. And I feel like that's why I want to encourage everybody out there to do, is just, even though things are expensive, put it back, even if it's a little bit at a time, because it's only going to help you in the long run. Things are not going to go back down. So the more you catch sales and put things back, the better off you're going to be financially. It's not doom and gloom all day long, the end of the world happening tomorrow. I sure hope not. But save yourself a buck. You know, be economical about it. Save some money. That's how I've saved money. It's money in the bank. It's better than money in the bank right now. With inflation, you're better off just buying things that you know you're going to use for the next few years, as opposed to putting some money in a savings account and drawing, less than 1% rate on it. It's not worth it. You know, with the cost of goods and things going up, you're better off just buying things and putting things back that you use. You're going to save a bundle as opposed to saving money in a savings account or a IRA or whatever. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do know I've lost a lot of money on 401ks and different things over the years, simply because the way the market is now and the way my investing strategy works just don't intermingle. And with inflation the way it is, the best thing I feel like I can do is just stock up on things that I use, and I'm going to save, 10+% a year, probably more than that, the way things are going. A weekly menu, yeah, that's something that I'm fairly new to as far as prepping, but I'm starting to realize some of the things I prep back, even though a lot of it is things I use. I need to get more savvy with recipes and things. Um, the ability to make more things with the preps that I have, so it doesn't get boring and mundane. Nobody wants to eat beans and rice every day. 2-in-1 root cellar and tornado shelter. Yeah, I have a tornado shelter at my house that was here when I moved in. This is an older house. My house was actually built in the late 50s. So I have a tornado shelter, but it's halfway above ground, and it does not serve the purpose of a root cellar. Unfortunately, it gets pretty warm in there in the summer. If it's hot, it's crazy hot in there. So that kind of sucks. I wish I had a root cellar, a walk-in root cellar like that, where I could put things away and not have to worry about them so much. Yeah, part of my retirement plan is, and I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to wait till I'm 70 to retire. That's not my plan. To me, that seems like a miserable life. I, you know, so many people think they have to wait for the SSI and all these things to kick in just to retire, and that's really not my plan at all. My plan is to pay my house off as quick as possible. I pay everything extra I possibly can. Um, I have a few credit cards and things that are the debt is nearly gone. I have it nearly all paid off. So the quicker I can get all my assets paid off, the better, and then work on buying a big lump sum of land, selling my house, and putting something on that land. We want something small, not necessarily a tiny home, but I mean, there's tons of things you can do with just buying a shed from Home Depot, even. It's not that hard if you know some people that can put plumbing in, electricity, and different things, septic, propane, whatever you're going to run things off of. It's really cheap to go that route, and that's going to be my retirement basically. I want to retire in my 50s and have something that I do for money. So if everything's paid for, then I can just have little, jobs that I do to pay everything at the end of the day, my utilities and food or whatever I need. Bows don't make noise. Yeah, that is true, and that's one thing to look into as far as being a prepper is If things do really go south and get really, really bad, you want to have the ability to be stealth, so to speak. You know, be quiet about things and hide things. And a bow's one of those ways to go. Several years ago, I bought a high power CO2 pistol and, you know, looked all this stuff up, bought all these custom parts, made it into a rifle. And I can kill varmint and different things with it. You know, any small predator or whatever I need to kill with it, or to survive as far as killing squirrels or whatever, I could do that with that to be quiet. If I don't want to shoot a 22 off or a shotgun or something like that to feed myself. So, yeah, bows and air guns and heck, even slingshots, if you get good enough with them, are really good ways to go as far as being the ability to kill animals to eat. You know, sorry, Vita, but I have to have my meats. So, yeah, Barbara, I wish I could communicate with more like-minded preppers in my area as well. And that's really not a strong suit as far as me giving you advice, because that's the area I lack. I'm more of a loner, like a rebel. Uh, I'm all about community and people helping each other, and I try to help people in my small circle of community, uh, people I work with, and family. And I'm all about helping people, but finding people that are of the mindset of that I am or you are is really an area that I lack. And I know there's a lot of different places and resources you can go for those things, and other YouTubers and people on Patreon and different platforms, whatever platform it may be. There's lots of people with different ideas and apps and stuff. You can meet other people, but at the end of the day, it's really how comfortable are you with meeting somebody that you don't know, especially through the computer. And for me, I'm not like, computer? What's a computer? I know what a computer is, but I'm not savvy on it, and I definitely don't want to meet people that I want to make a tight knit circle around for preparedness on the computer solely. I'm not saying it's impossible, it's something that I'm actually working toward, but you really have to look at the people that are applying for this position, so to speak. I don't want to just go for any Joe Blow out there that says, "Hey, I'm into preparedness and I'm into livestock and I'm into stockpiling and things like that," because you don't know who you're talking to. And I don't care what platform or app it is. It's hard to meet like-minded people out there and not be a little nervous about who you're meeting or where they're from or what their true intentions are as far as preparedness, or if they're just trying to pull one over on you. Yeah, you have to stay to yourself. I mean, that's what's unfortunate. There's so many like-minded people out there like us, but man, it's hard to open yourself up to people when you don't know who they are or if they really believe the way you do. Retired when you turn 56, JT, that's awesome. Yeah, see, that's what I want to do. I just turned 41 in December, and my sole goal is, in a decade from now, 10 years from now, at best, have my house completely paid off and possibly have some land halfway paid off and sell this place, move there, put something to live in on there, and have a bunch of livestock and everything I need, and try to live off the land and my survival skills alone as much as I possibly can and get out of the system. You know, all these people that want to act like they're living off the grid. Let me tell you, and this is personally my opinion, but it is impossible to live completely off the grid. It's just impossible. I mean, the way the world is connected now, no matter where you live, even if you're a native out in the middle of nowhere, people know where you're at. and they know how many of you there are. I mean, that's just how it is. That's the technology we live in. Unfortunately, I don't like it probably any more than a lot of you out there. But Big Brother is always watching, and that's something that's not going to go away anywhere in the near future. It's going to get worse. I don't mean to go all Skynet on you, but that's kind of how it is. Things are getting crazy, and the algorithms and robots and computers and everything are getting crazy fast, and it's inevitable. We're doomed as far as technology goes. I feel like that's solely my opinion. Gardner Josh is close to me. Yeah, I'm outside of Tulsa. I'm like 45 minutes north of Tulsa, probably something like that. I don't go to Tulsa much, just simply because I was halfway raised there. My grandparents lived there, and I spent a lot of time growing up with them. And it was a great place growing up in the 80s and 90s. They didn't have to worry about us. We could play out in the yard, go down the street. We'd ride our bikes to the mall 2 miles away, and it was no big deal. Now you go there, and I myself would probably not walk down the road. My grandparents, the neighborhood they lived in, uh, and so there's no way I would let my kids go out there and play. And that's kind of how Tulsa has become to me. I hate it when I go there. Um, my daughter, I have joint custody with my ex, so the commute to and from, I go there once a week typically, no more than that if I can help it. But it's not a place that I feel, at ease. It's not a place I feel comfortable and safe. If I do go there, I'm on edge the whole time I'm there. Where I live, I feel comfortable. The next big city over, I was raised in, graduated from, I feel fairly comfortable in. So my ventures to Tulsa as the big city are few and far between. It's just become a cesspool. No offense to people that live in Tulsa, but it's not a great place as far as I can tell. Burned too many times. Skittles, Skittles, so leafy greens, picking green tomatoes. Wow. In January. January, that's crazy. That's kind of when I want to do the indoor gardening a little bit. Um, kind of new to that. Haven't really looked a lot into it. Watched a few videos and stuff. Bought a light, but it's something I really want to look into more. And growing microgreens and stuff. That's one thing I want to look into for the new year. Um, I was lucky. The house I moved into, when I moved in here, I don't know. I really was wanting to buy a house and some land, and I held off for a long time because I just didn't think I was ready, and I didn't think my credit and things were good enough, and everything was better than I thought it was, and the market was fresh for it at the time. But my expectations as far as buying a house and land and what I wanted in my price range were not, seeing eye to eye basically. So I halfway settled for where I'm at. It's a place I'm comfortable at, and the people in this community are pretty great. Uh, I don't know, a year or so ago when the B, the L, the M's, they started their crap and doing their little marches and stuff everywhere. They tried to do one here where I live, and everybody showed up into town with body armor and pew pews. And let's just say the B, the L, and the M's decided they didn't want to have their little protest here. So that's really where it comes in, living in a safe area. and finding a community you can live in and around like-minded people. And not, there's always going to be those bad apples, but if I lived in Tulsa or somewhere like that, I wouldn't feel comfortable. Yeah, beautiful American cities ruined. It's unfortunate, and I hate to say it, but I'm kind of blinded to the fact of all the ruin across the United States and the world at times. My media consumption is very minimal simply because if I watch too much news and too many things going on in the world and all the ruin and stuff going on, I get all doomy, and then the next thing you know, I'm maxing out my debit card, buying extra food for the month. Uh, Everybody should be stocking up and doing things like that, but low consumption with me in the news, I just can't take it. It's ridiculous, and half of it's just BS anyway. So the less I see or hear, the better at times. I do read my articles and I do have my news sources, but as far as watching Fox or CNN or all the mainstream things, other than going on my local news to watch the weather or what happened in Tulsa for the day, I really don't get into it much just because it's all doom and gloom 24/7. Great retirement plan? Yeah. I'm not caught up on necessities, and if you'd have talked to me a decade ago, I'd probably been a completely different person. I probably wouldn't even have liked the person I am now. Uh, and that's what I want everybody to realize is you can change who you are. If you're not happy with your situation and you don't feel safe, especially if you're a prepper and you're here because you're into preparedness, which I would assume most people are, um, you can change the way you're living. If you're somewhere and you don't feel safe, change it. You know, I was nearly forced into work buying a house. I hate to say it, but where I was at wasn't working, and it was basically I needed to find another place to go, and I pushed myself into buying a home. And thank God I did it right before the whole pandemic happened and the end of the world, because my house has already grown like $30,000, $40,000 in equity, and the amount I pay on it extra, my interest rates are extremely low. My plan is having this place paid off in 10 years, 12 at best. So to me, that's a great retirement. Everything paid for and working for what I need, and I'm happy with that at the end of the day. I'm way happier with that than trying to play the stock market or the 401 or whatever it may be. I'm not going to say I don't have a little in 401. I'm not going to say I don't have a little bit of silver and gold stocked up, but it's not something that I plan on making a living with and retiring with. It's just for hard times to come. What I plan on retiring with is knowledge and having everything paid for, and all I got to worry about is my basic living expenses, which could be very little if I really look into regenerative agriculture. Like I said, the ability to produce your own proteins, have your own garden, your own medicines, whatever it may be for you to survive, as little as you could possibly be in the system and having to go to Walmart for things, the better off you're going to be. To be completely 100% self sufficient is a hard task for anyone. Not something I think I'm going to do in the near future, but the more I can produce for myself and not have to go down and pay for, I feel like I'm better off. Yeah, you definitely want to pay everything off. I think one of the most important things I can tell people, aside from putting some food back and having agriculture, is having all your debt paid off. Uh, and like I said, 10 years ago, I was a different person. Right now, my main focus is paying everything I have off. It's not going to the movies. It's not buying the latest and greatest T-shirt or whatever it may be to make me feel better about my day. I'm not going to say that I don't like blowing money on things that I enjoy. I do. But there's a time and a place with basically the end of the world here. What's more important to you? The ability to sleep well at night, knowing that you can protect yourself and your family and feed yourself, or having the latest iPhone out that takes, so many more megapixel pictures, or instead of 2K, 4K, or whatever, like, who cares? I'm talking to you guys on an iPhone 6S, and I'm looking into getting another one because this one's wore out. I don't want the latest and greatest. It's all a gimmick. It's all stuff to just drain you of your pocketbook so you don't concentrate on the more important things out there, like survival and the ability to feed yourself and your family and have a roof over your head and clothing on your back. It is hard being regenerative. And like I said, I don't have everything figured out. It's a slow process. That's true. That's true. There are advantages to the current situation depending on where you sit. Um, and that's where it comes in being smart with the things going on right now. To me, I spend a lot of money on food. I guess that's where I blow most of my money. But working in a grocery store, man, I can't pass up a good deal. I cannot. If I'm saving 50, 100% on something, you better believe I'm going to buy it if it's within my means. I don't use my credit card to buy things. I don't do that. But if I have the extra money, that's where my money goes anymore. And I'm looking to spread that out actually. Not so much food storage. I don't want to spend as much money there. I'm getting to a place with food storage that I feel comfortable. I'm by no means where I want to be, but I feel comfortable enough that I'm thinking of putting some of my assets, some of my money in different areas. Like with, having the cooney pigs and stuff, I'm going to have to buy, electric fencing. I've started butchering chickens a lot more, and I would like to do more. I'd like to, and that's, having my own source. I want to start supplying my own chicken 100% now that I know enough about it. So, spending extra money on a scolder and a plucker where I'm not out there trying to get hot water to a certain degree to scold them and, plucking them for 10 minutes by hand. It's a slow process, and I've made a few videos about, or a video about butchering and things like that. And as easy as it may seem in the video, it is not that complicated, but it is very time consuming. It's kind of like the same deal with, the pressure canning and stuff. It's not that it's hard, it's that it takes a lot of time. So you don't want to shortchange yourself on anything, whether it be livestock or pressure canning. You want to do it like it's supposed to be done. So it's a hard area to learn in. But the more self-sufficient you can be, the better off you're going to be, no matter what that is. Just learn the skills. And like I've said in videos I've done, I'm not the greatest storyteller, and I don't know everything. And I'm no Spielberg over here trying to make videos for you. I'm just giving you ideas to run with, and whether that be compost or chickens or whatever it may be, I'm just trying to help people that may not know what to do. I'm learning along the way too. I don't have all the answers. But if you'd have met me 5 years ago, I was a completely different person. And I'm constantly trying to learn. I don't read fiction or watch much fiction. It's all nonfiction for me. If I'm buying a book, it's something to help me do something or learn something or improve in a certain area. And the same thing comes with most of the things I watch, whether it be YouTube or TV or internet, wherever my information may come from. I'm wanting to learn something. I really have no interest in fan fiction or whatever. I love a good movie. I love a good action movie or a horror movie. I'm a big horror buff. And me and my wife's thing is B movies. We love to just, sit around and hang out and watch a good B horror movie. That's great for us. But as far as my everyday life, I don't sit around and watch movies or watch news or read a fiction book. I'm constantly trying to learn and improve and hone in on my skills, basically, because I feel like time is really running short. And I know there's a lot of people out there that watch these videos like this or similar to this, prepper videos, doomsday videos, and it's fun to pretend and kind of put yourself in that position. What if zombies attack? What if the economy collapses and things like that? And it's fun to pretend, and you know, you're watching the latest zombie film or series, and you think you got it all figured out. But this isn't something fun. This is a way of life for me. I'm prepping for life. I'm prepping to survive and push through another day and help somebody else prep and push through another day, whether it be a friend or a family member or somebody out there that I've never met. I'm here to help people and help myself. And, I'm a God fearing person myself. I'm not going to get way into religion on this. I didn't start this channel for that intention. I'm not here to turn people against each other for religion or personal beliefs like that. But, God gave us the ability, in my opinion, to supply our own resources and take care of ourselves and be self-sufficient and learn the ways on our own. And society is slowly moving away from that. Things are getting crazy, technology's taking over, people are getting dumber, and as much as I hate to say it, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Idiocracy, but it seems like that movie at times. People are just getting dubbed down as stupider and stupider. And I can't stand the fact, even my 9-year-old has a phone, and some people might not agree with that, but that is the world we live in. But the way I have raised her, she's the first one to put that phone down and want to go play outside or do something with dad in the yard. And that's where it comes in, being a good parent and raising the next generation correctly. Technology and society are moving in one general direction. Things are getting crazier and weirder, and technology is moving faster and faster to the point that I honestly feel like in 10 years we won't even recognize where we live. But the thing at the end of the day that's going to get us through and get us through the next generation or two, or even further out, hopefully, is teaching the little ones, the young ones, the ways we were taught, and the ways that will help you survive in the long run if Big Daddy Gov ain't there to give you a paycheck or some food stamps or some food in your mouth or cable or cell phone or anything else at this point. They give everything. And I'm not here to shoot people down for that. I know there are people that need assistance and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. It is a completely raped system right now that we're living through, and our tax dollars and money are just being gobbled up into huge amounts of debt. And there are so many lazy people sitting around that could do otherwise, and it disgusts me, honestly, because there are people out there that need assistance and they need help in things, and there are others out there that exploit it and take advantage of it simply because they are too lazy to go out and work. I break my back at my job. I'm the manager of my department, and if I wanted to, I could just sit back and slap the whip on people, but I don't do it. I don't do it. I'll do just as much physical labor as them. I'll put the truck away. I'll clean a toilet if you want me to, but I will never ask something of somebody else that I will not do myself. And I feel like that's what's lacking in the world we live in right now, is that there are so many lazy people, and all you're doing is setting a horrible example for the next generation to come and several generations beyond that. So quit being lazy and Be a hard worker. That's what created this world we live in. All the great things you can think of in life were created by people that broke their back and the sweat on their brow and blood on their hands. It wasn't people sitting around lazy doing nothing and sucking off the government teat. Sorry, not trying to get all crazy here with you, but that's the problem with what's going on in the world. We need more hard workers and more hard leaders. And I think once that element changes in our society, we're going to be a lot better off. We'll be a lot more self sufficient. We won't need other countries. We can supply all our own things. It's all a domino effect. But people have got to be willing to work hard for it. Nothing's free, nothing is easy in this world. Bear with me here so I can get caught up a little bit. I do get a lot of good deals working at a grocery store just because I see the stuff every day and I walk by it. I'm sure not everybody at my work is like I am, but when I'm walking to the bathroom, I'm looking for a good deal on the way. So, hand pluck and put over fire. Yeah, there's a skill to plucking chickens. It took some time for me to figure it all out, and you can watch videos all day long, but till you do it, you really have no idea what you're in for. Like I said, it's not complicated, it's not hard, but man, is it time consuming, and there is a learning curve. You have to get your hands dirty. You're just trying to learn left to right. Yeah. Like I said, that's all I do. I'm not on YouTube trying to entertain myself. I'm constantly trying to learn things, and I'm no scholar over here. I don't know everything, but um, that's good that you're working toward getting out of a city. Um, and I'm not in the greatest of areas. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm only a few miles from Walmart, but where I live are very conservative minded, like minded people like myself that aren't scared of this whole new age movement going on out there. And it's almost like being in a time warp for me because the next city over I grew up in, which is still a very good city, don't get me wrong, but it's crazy expensive if you want to live there. Um, it's like me live. What I see here where I live is like me living there 20 years ago. So it's a little bit of a time warp. And most of the population where I live right on a lake, or I can drive 5 minutes down the road and put my toes in the lake. So that's how close I am to the lake. So a lot of the population where I live, I don't know the exact population. If I had to guess, it'd be 10,000 people maybe. But I would guarantee like at least half of those live in some mansion house on the lake. So um, there are certain elements to security and different things I have to worry about where I'm at. I'm by no means in the middle of nowhere, but it's not quite as bad as if I lived in a big city. So getting out of the big cities is the best thing you can do. It really is. Aside from learning skills, like you said, because skills at the end of the day are going to help you survive no matter where you live. And yeah, scorching those feathers on the chickens, probably not so hard. But let me tell you, and I made a video about the ducks, ducktails. Not a big fan. It's not that I'm totally opposed to duck meat and eggs. They're not that horrible. I could eat them if I had to survive. And they are really cool little creatures out of the chickens and the ducks. The ducks are a lot more personable, and you can kind of make them more of a pet than a chicken. It makes it a little harder to butcher them, in my opinion. But there's a lot more upkeep to a duck. It's just anybody that wants to raise ducks, I'm telling you, it's not that easy. And you better know what you're getting yourself into. Even though they are more easy to raise, I guess they're not as apt to like diseases and different things. There's a lot of work to it, man. And the ego thing, it's like my ducks, I can leave their pen open all day long. I've done it a few times by accident. Go out there in the evening and it's been open all day long and they will not leave that thing. Chickens are different. They'd be all over the yard. But there's just certain things about ducks that I don't like. It's the water issue. Unless you got a pond for them things to be on, probably not something you want because it's just endless amounts of 5 gallon buckets of water I carry out there 24/7. In the summer, it's a little bit better. I bought enough hose to go, you know, my livestock is 100 yards from the house, so I bought quite a bit of hose and have it ran out there when it's nice. But now it's getting freezing. I'm out there again at 5:30 in the morning, lugging 5 gallon buckets of water to feed things and water things, and not a lot of fun. So joker of many trades and a master of none. I've always said my whole life, I've told everybody I'm not great at anything, I'm just mediocre. Yeah, left to right. Same thing for me. I was raised pretty much city boy. Had some family that lived in the country, and I loved it. I always loved it growing up, going to visit them. But I was raised in the city, so all this stuff is new for me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning along the way, just like everybody else. But I encourage everybody else to learn too, because there's a lot of valuable skills to learn. Like your granny taught you to chase the chickens. Yeah. I always heard stories growing up. My grandmother, she was raised on a farm here in Oklahoma. They had like 600 something acres that they won, believe it or not, in the land run. And they were raised with no indoor plumbing or anything like that. And so my grandmother knew all the hardships growing up, and she had 12 brothers and sisters. So, you know, 12 siblings, they all raised each other and they lived in the country and raised livestock and gardens and everything to, survive as well as canning and stuff. I remember visiting my great grandmother and seeing her cellar full of canned stuff that's probably ancient. But yeah, there's a lot to learn from elder people like that. They've lived through it all. Getting better health, yeah. Health is super important. Up till recently, I was not the advocate for health. I was not eating right and things, and I can tell a huge difference. For New Year's, we had a bunch of snacks and different things we ate. I made Mexican food and stuff, and man, I've been paying for it ever since. So health is definitely the way to go. You do dunk them in hot water, JT, but you got to get the water temperature just right. And you have to do it for so long to get it just right. There's a skill to it. It takes a while. It really does. You can watch videos and read books all day long, but till you do it a few times, it's not as easy as it may seem. There's a learning curve. Yeah, plucking the ducks, I did not enjoy. Getting into rabbits, that's cool. That's one good thing about rabbits is they do mass produce, but And I'm not a huge rabbit meat fan, but I've thought about getting into it simply for dog food, honestly. You know, that's one area that I'm way behind on as far as prepping is the ability to feed my dogs. You know, I have a little lap dog, you know, a medium large size dog that's an indoor outdoor dog, and then I have, you know, a big dog that stays outside. And they all eat kibble, they all eat dry stuff, so it's not something that I can keep a lot of and it won't spoil. So, for the long run, for them, the ability to feed my animals and my dogs is something that I really am actively looking into, as well as my livestock. You know, chickens and things require feed, probably a lot more than a lot of people would think. So, the ability to feed them is pretty important if you want something that's sustainable when everything falls apart and Tractor Supply is not open or Walmart or whatever. But the good thing about poultry, chickens, turkeys, things like that, they'll eat pretty much anything. I mean, I could feed them my table scraps and weeds out of the yard. 'Em. Yeah, that's right, JT. Rabbit meat is extremely lean. It is. I mean, you could lose weight if you're not careful. If that's your main diet, it's definitely something you could add to your preps and be something you rely on, but not solely relying on as a meat because you'll probably end up, I wouldn't say starving to death, but probably not very healthy. 14 hens and one crows. Wow. Right now, I stumbled upon with my flock. I had people that gave me chickens and stuff, and I wound up with I have three roosters now, and that's one thing I'm struggling with right now is I don't want to get rid of them. Roosters are very valuable asset to any homestead or small farm or large farm for that matter, unless you're into the commercial aspect of it. But they really ward off predators, honestly. I mean, and you don't have to worry about, at least from what I've gathered, predators trying to get to your roosters. But they're valuable in the aspect that they do ward off other things. They're so loud and boisterous, and also the ability to, create more chickens. That's where I'm presently going to buy an incubator real soon, just so they have the ability to do that. I've only dabbled with meat birds. This is my first, trial with meat birds. And I went with what most people told me in videos and different things I read to do, which is get the Cornish cross hens, which when I first heard that, when I first got into chickens and I was reading Cornish cross, I was thinking Cornish hens because I'm thinking the little ones you buy at the store, which are awesome, but they're tiny. Not at all the same thing. A Cornish cross is basically a chicken that you just gorge with food, with feed, to the point that it's just can't even hardly hold its own weight up. They have tons of health problems. They have chicken poop all over them and stuff, and it's kind of disgusting and not something I really enjoyed. I have a freezer full of them. They're great. They taste awesome, but as far as the raising them aspect, not something I felt comfortable with. I'm totally looking into more heritage breeds and things that I can buy an incubator and produce more of myself, as opposed to going down to Tractor Supply or ordering them online or wherever. Um, I want to create my own, and have my own breed and my own heritage, and just keep that going, that whole line going, and not have to worry about going out and buying them. I mean, in the long run, it's going to save you a bundle, especially if you're raising them for meat and things, and you know what you're doing. I'm still learning as far as feeding them and things, and the best way to go with that, getting the most bang for my buck as far as meat and dollar wise. But it's a learning process. But yeah, I want to go with more heritage type breeds that I can create myself. and not have to go down and buy every season. Rhode Island Reds, yeah, that's I have a lot of those, and they are not nice. They are not. And I got several different breeds. I have no idea what they are. That I got from my wife's friend that raises them. They're like pets for her. You know, for me, it's livestock. It started off like a pet type thing, just to be cute or whatever. But it's a way of life for me now. I'm raising livestock to eat, you know, or eat their eggs or whatever. So it's a long term thing for me. But a few of them, one of the roosters I have, he is extremely mean. And I don't know what breed he is, but he's like a dark gray and black with like a almost like a faded yellow on his wings. And he is the meanest thing ever. Like I turned my back on him once in the coop, feeding him and stuff, and he jumped on my back and clawed me up. So those roosters are no joke, especially if you get one with like a ego problem. But they're definitely something good to have. They ward off the predators and the ability to make more eggs. Golden, in my opinion, not having to go down and buy them. And ducks are a lot harder to catch. Let me tell you, chickens are fast, but ducks are it's a whole other creature of its own. But yeah, ducks lay a ton of eggs. My hen lays an egg pretty much nearly every day of the year. No joke. Made some money hatching eggs. See, I've thought about doing that, but all the business ventures that I try, where I think I'm going to make some money selling eggs or something, just don't work out. But as far as raising things for myself, you know, to be healthier and save a buck, I feel like I can do that reasonably. But I haven't looked in too much to the budgeting of buying grains in bulk and things to actually sell meat and eggs and make money off of it. At this point, I'm if I break even, I'm lucky. I'm happy. Yeah, see the I don't know where she got the incubator, but my wife's friend that hatched the chickens and gave them to us, she said she did like I think 10 or 12 eggs, expecting to get two or something, and she wound up with like eight. So she had pretty good results with the incubator. Emu eggs, huh? I can't imagine what those taste like. Yeah, the hatching chicken eggs on eBay. I actually watched a video on YouTube, I believe, and a guy was selling duck eggs, and he was getting some ungodly amount for fertile duck eggs. He sold that were guaranteed to hatch or whatever. He was making, I think it was $2,000 a month selling fertile duck eggs, which didn't seem that hard from his video, but it was very time consuming. You're constantly wrapping eggs and shipping eggs to make that kind of money, which is something that does not sound enjoyable to me. Face to face basis, you know, I'm an older spirit. If somebody wants to buy eggs or meat off me and I work with them or I know them from town or whatever, that's great. But as far as building a business venture online, I'm not somebody that's really into that, or I don't feel like I could be good at it enough, I guess. City people that want chickens, yeah. It's amazing how many more people are getting into things like that, really. Um, I've heard of a lot of new people raising poultry and things. It was totally a new thing for me when I started. I had no idea what I was doing. And it's very intimidating when you first start. And I remember when I first got our ducks, we got 4 ducks when we moved in our new house. We don't have a ton of land here. It's like an acre and a half or something. And it's in a neighborhood, but everybody's spread out. Everybody's pretty like-minded. There's several people with chickens and different things. But I remember when we first got our ducks, had no clue what we were doing. We had a brooder, brooded them, and then after several weeks, we put them out in the coop, the pre-existing coop we had here when we moved in. And everybody was like worried that are the ducks going to be all right, you know? And one of the main reasons I bought ducks was because of how hardy I heard they were and how, you know, unapt to getting diseases and different things. And let me tell you, those things are hardy as can be. Like when it was their water freeze over out there, you know, you bust that water up, they're in there swimming in it. They're not worried about the cold. Trust me, that's part of their nature. So, but I'm just not a big fan of duck meat. So, all right, guys. Well, I've been going for 92 minutes almost now, and I've really enjoyed this live chat. It's my first one. Didn't really know what to expect. Figured there'd be some obstacles along the way. I'm honestly impressed that the video and audio and everything's going through without any problems. I'm shooting this on, like I said, an iPhone 6S with a tablet to read comments on, so I'm not the most technology savvy person over here. But I do have to work tomorrow, so I'm going to hop off here, and I would like to do another live stream very soon. Might be something that I start doing weekly. But as most of you probably know out there, it's hard to, when you don't have a lot of subscribers, to do too many live streams because then, you know, 2 or 3 people are showing up. So the more I grow, probably the more live streams I'm going to do. So that's where it comes in. You guys helping me out and sharing my videos and spreading the word, because I might not have the greatest content out there, but I sure do try. And my goal is to spread the word of preparedness and get people out there thinking in different ways and preparing and getting ready for the things to come, because a lot of bad times to come, in my opinion. So I appreciate all you guys showing up for the Survival Buzz. And as always, like this video and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Later.